name is Aaliyah. Thank you for clicking on this video. And I'm going to be reading a story from this book. This is a book that my parents read a lot to me in my childhood. And last year I read one of the spooky, scary stories in here. I will attach that in the description. And I'm going to read another spooky ghost story from this book. It is called The Salem Ghost Ship. It is retold by Frank J. And the description says, wherever men have gone to sea in ships, there are stories about phantom ships, those ships that appear suddenly only to vanish again. And this is the illustration. We were all Salem men aboard the brig Neptune, and we were ending a 16-month voyage on the shortest day of the year. We'd be home in Salem in time for Christmas. Salem's a town that holds its people wherever they roam. Although many of us travel far and long, we remain Salem men until death. There's even an old legend that says no matter where his body dies, the spirit of a true Salem man always returns. Captain Abner Lowe had taken Jack Summers and me along with him. We were 14 and had taken a year out of school to see what we were made of. Jack was in the captain's watch, the starboard, and I was in the second watch, the larboard, under the mate. We had started out with the usual Yankee cargo of rum, wool, cotton, codfish, cheese, clocks, furniture, and shoes. Our run took us right to Madeira for wine. Then we traded along Africa's west coast, sailing around the Cape to Madagascar. We pushed on to the Arabian ports for coffees and then to the Indian ports. From India, we headed to China for teas, silks, and nankeens. In Sumatra, we traded for pepper, and finally we reached Manila, where we took on cigars. Then we beat across the Pacific to Juan Fernandez for water and fresh provisions. We doubled the Cape and crossed the Atlantic to Antwerp, and now we were returning home to Salem, with a rich haul from Europe, Africa, and Asia. Each Tuesday and Friday night, us boys went to the captain's cabin. There, he instructed us in arithmetic and the simple problems of navigation. That was our book learning. Our most practical education was in the hands of Sales, the elderly sailmaker. It was this character who taught us to knot, reeve, and splice, to hand, reef, and steer. And he counseled us not to run when an officer gave an order, but jump. From old Sales, we learned the lore of the sea, the legends, superstitions, and the salty speech. Sales loved talking about the ghost ships. He had seen them all, he said. The Flying Dutchman in the Hudson River, the dead ship of Orr's Island up Mainway, the Palatine over to Block Island. Even though we were sure Sales was pulling our legs, we loved hearing the stories as much as he loved telling them. Before we put the first patches on our sea breeches, we were sneaking peeks at the horizon, hoping to catch a glimpse of a phantom ship. We hadn't seen one, and now the trip was over. We were entering Salem Harbor under reefed topsails, riding a following easterly of moderate gale strength. It was the first dog of the watch. Darkness had already fallen. Mr. Cates, the pilot, was beside me. Sales stood with Jack just below. We passed Peach's Point and were inside Kettle Bottom. The pilot gave orders in his quiet voice, and I repeated them loud and strong with the added stir. In a few moments, the bell would be struck, and Jack would sound off briskly. "Ease her a bit to port, lads," said Mr. Cates. "To port, sir," I snapped, and then 2 bells were struck. I listened for Jack Summers' cry, and it came promptly. "2 bells, sir, and all the lights are burning brightly." Then he screamed, "Astern! Look astern! Ship ho!" I turned and looked aft. A great ship under full sail, 4 times the size of Neptune, was bearing down on us. For a moment, I wondered what maniac was her master. Then, quickly, I threw the helm over hard support, believing I could throw the brig over enough to ease a dead-on crash. But the wheel was taken roughly from my hands, and I was crowded off the grating. The wheel spun back to its old position, and Mr. Cape's calm voice said, "Steady, lad, steady." I must have been cringing, waiting for the crash. "So strike us starboard," I thought, "and we'll find ourselves swimming for the triangles, our ship at the bottom." The crash didn't come. Lifting my head, I saw the giant vessel tack slightly and come along starboard, crowding us. But there was no splintering of wood, no rush of water. There was no creaking and straining of ropes and canvas, only a grim and glowing silence. Every sail was set, every rope taut or coiled on her deck. Anchor was stowed for a long voyage. I thought I could see her masts through her sails, as though they were cobwebs. I could see her stout frames through the hull, but she carried no cargo. There were no men in her fussily, and there was no one at her helm. And as we all looked at her, she faded away, as though she'd entered a dense fog bank. Jack and I looked to each other, and then to Sail. His jaw hung open, his eyes stared straight ahead, fixed on the now vanished ship. "It's the ghost ship," Mr. Cape said in his quiet voice. "The proper Salem man has died somewhere, and the ship is bringing his spirit home to Salem, home for Christmas." Okay, so that's the end of the story. I hope that you enjoyed it, and you can check out my other story I read last year. It's called The Peculiar Such Thing, I believe. I always kind of knew it as Talipo. It's also an old story. The book is called From Sea to Shining Sea, a treasury of American folklore and folk songs. So I love this book, and it's from my childhood and stuff. So I don't know if it's something that can still be found or purchased, because it came out in the 90s. But yeah, so thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe if you want to. And have a good Halloween. Bye.